were supposed to meet, and then I think we entered the zombie apocalypse a week later after our scheduled meeting. I think that was the first meeting I had to cancel because of COVID. Was going up and seeing you guys. So I'm glad everybody is well and safe, and thank you for having me back, at least virtually. That's okay. Hopefully one day we'll see each other and we can hug each other and meet face to face. But I will take this. This is okay, and I do apologize if I have screaming teenagers in the background. So bear with me there. Can everybody hear me okay? Thumbs up?
Sure.
All right. Yeah, so I'm just gonna go through some of this presentation. I don't know how much time I have. Mickey, do you want to let me know how much time? Because I could tailor it to 15 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, you know, and then Q&A. Let me know, and that way I can either condense it and kind of blast through these slides that I have. So what's your thought on that?
I mean, we're probably looking about 15, 20 minutes, something like that.
15, 20? Okay, great. So I'm going to share this. I think you have to just disable your screen sharing. Host disable.
Yep. I got to make you the host. Hang on one second here.
Excuse me.
Okay, you should be seeing something saying you're the host now.
Yep, I am. Awesome. All right. Can you see the slides?
Yes.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you. All right. So a few things so we know what we're going to be talking about today. I've got a presentation agenda for you folks. Thank you again for having me speak. I'm just going to talk a little bit briefly about good energy. I don't know if you guys attended the past presentation. Is there anybody from Governors on, Mickey?
No.
No? Okay. Because we are moving forward with them. Just was checking if there was a representative. I'm going to go a little bit into what community choice aggregation is at a very layman's level. Just go through the basics. I'm going to talk about the benefits of community choice aggregation. You're going to hear my acronym CCA. That's what it goes by in most of the country. How CCA works from a billing perspective. We're going to talk a little bit about public outreach and what goes into the mandatory marketing and informational material that go out to the public. We're going to talk really quick on how to enroll, how simple it is. And then I know some board members wanted to talk about community solar and how it relates to CCA, which I'm glad to do. Have an added few slides at the end, and then we can go into Q&A. So let me go right ahead. So who is Good Energy? We're a national firm. We have offices in New York, Texas, Illinois, Greater St. Louis area, Missouri. Massachusetts, we're about to open up in Rhode Island as CCA opens up. We are a commercial electricity broker. This is our presence throughout the country. We have customers in both lighting, natural gas, and electricity, and those are the states that we have a presence in. We again have been in the deregulated markets for about 20 years, definitely national leaders in community choice aggregation. We probably have the most entities in the country, about a little over 400 community choice aggregations, from Illinois to New Jersey to Mass to New York. We serve about 3 million residents. That's about 1% of the US population, manage about 5 billion kilowatt hours of electricity nationwide. And very proud of the fact that we are the exclusive energy consultant for the New York Conference of Mayors, as well as the New York State Association of Towns. With that, there was a collaborative effort that we put together called NIMEP, the New York Municipal Energy Program. It's an initiative that basically focuses on two things: community choice aggregation, as well as commercial aggregation for your municipal facilities, whether it's wastewater treatment plants, school districts, whatever public entities are within the jurisdictions of the villages, towns, cities. We put together an aggregation program for that. And we are what you call a CCA administrator. That means that we have a special designation with the Public Service Commission that we are approved by them to actually manage and run a community choice aggregation program. We're proud that through our CCAs, we've actually produced several green community choice aggregation programs. This is a dated number from last year. And I think we just need to do a recount of this, but we've offset about $1.4 billion kilowatt hours, not $billion, billion kilowatt hours of electricity, which equals to collectively 1.1 million metric tons of greenhouse gas emissions. So very proud of that fact, and we continue to do so. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about community choice aggregation, go into the nuts and bolts. And this slide is really talking about just the basic benefits of what community choice aggregation is. And it simply is this CCA enables a municipality to aggregate the electric and natural gas loads of their residents and small businesses to gain greater buying power. So what are you doing? You're leveraging community population, you're leveraging your neighbors, right? With that, you're getting competitive pricing for your residents and small businesses. I'm going to talk a little bit later about the utility bill dynamics and the setup. It's the same level of utility service. You've got more green options that you can bring into the community. You've got potentially, especially with community solar or some of these other distributed energy resources, you have economic development opportunities that we can run through. And also have a choice on what type of renewable mix you could bring to your community. These are the states that actually have CCA enabled as state legislation or administrative ruling. New York has it through the Public Service Commission, and the other states usually do it through enabling legislation at the state level. California, Illinois, Ohio, New York. Rhode Island, Massachusetts, New Jersey, et cetera. So this is a growing trend. I know Maryland's looking at it, Delaware is growing. This is a new way of buying throughout the US and really giving control to municipal government and letting municipal government police and really help their constituents understand the energy markets that can be very, very convoluted. And there's always a mental block in trying to understand what a kilowatt hour is and what a therm is. Usually most people understand what a telephone bill is and understand how to read their telephone bill. When it comes to looking at the energy bill, electricity bill, it's an anomaly for them. So it's really difficult. So key point to doing this is if I was a single homeowner going out into the markets and trying to buy competitive pricing, I really don't have the leveraging power that I would have if I were to go in it together with my neighbors, right? So what is it doing? It's creating economies of scale, bulk buying, right? That's really the secret sauce. One of the reasons for that at a industry level is many of the large electricity and natural gas suppliers that you have in the US do not have a model to go after residential customers. They don't really care. It costs too much on the acquisition side to go door to door and find individual customers. Usually those that are involved with that are B, C rated suppliers that really don't have a long-term strategy. They're in the market, they have an exit strategy. They sell you all these teaser rates, and then in 3-6 months, your rates go through the roof. The larger corporations are not involved with them. They're involved with having sound relationships with their customers, with their clients, and they enjoy having a long-term agreement and transactional relationship with those. And that's where we stand, right? So we don't want to plug and chug and just hit and run, right? What we want to do is we want to come in and keep each resident long-term and give them a very valuable service. So by doing that, by aggregating, you now have the opportunity to go after these larger suppliers, these more reputable suppliers that would serve a electrical load that's much bigger instead of one home, right? So now I'm going to talk a little bit about how it impacts your bill. It's real simple, and a lot of people don't understand what your bill is made up of. So you got two components. You got delivery and supply on both your electricity and your natural gas bill. So those are your two major bills. Supply is the component that we will affect, that we will control. We will reduce the cost on your supply costs. About 50 to 75% of your energy bill will be impacted. The other components are delivery. So about 50% is usually supply. And the good news is that, you know, there is no change in your utility bill with CCA. You still use National Grid or NYSEG or Central Hudson as your utility. Your incumbent utility remains the same, and we use the same billing system. All you're going to see is a savings on the bill. And in my next slides, I have an example. And no change in utility service. I'll talk a little bit about that later. So this is a sample of a bill. I'm using natural gas supply in this particular instance. So let me get my little pointer. So this portion here, I don't know if you could see my little marker there. This portion, the delivery service, is controlled by National Grid, RG&E, NYSEG. So they remain your delivery services provider. So this doesn't change. This whole area here does not change. What changes is this important word, supply. Whoever's giving your commodity supply, it is what's going to go down. So what we want to do is we want to focus in this area here. So in this slide, I just pronounce it a little bit more. The natural gas supply is what's going to go down. This is what's going to be reduced. And it's still going to be on the same bill. So for example, if you have any issues with your home, let's say there's some tree limbs that need to be cut down because there's wires, you know, underneath them, or they're grown into wires, or there's an issue with your pipeline for natural gas and you need to go and dig, or they need to dig at the street level, you know, that continues to happen. The level of service is the same. So you never have to worry about that. Also, if there's any emergencies, brownouts, blackouts, you just look at your bill, call that 800 number for National Grid, and they come and they service you at the local level, at the last mile level. So all the transaction, the lowering of the bill is done on the back end, settled in arrears, and we handle that with the winning supplier that we put on with you. Again, we are the consultant. We're not the supplier of electricity or natural gas. We actually run the RFP that selects that particular supplier. So now in this slide, I'm going to talk a little bit about how to enroll. Many of you probably know this already. This is an opt-out program. So in an opt-out program, there's nothing really you need to do unless you want to remove yourself. So there's no need for signups. People will get a letter. It'll explain what the rates are, what the difference between what the utility rate is and what they've been paying and the new rate. If they decide to do anything, and they would have to just, if they decide to leave, then they would send in a self-addressed stamped envelope to the supplier. And that would mean that they would opt out. They could also call an 800 number to opt out, or they can go on the website that we provide for them to opt out. Very simple 3-method format where they can remove themselves from the program. So they're automatically enrolled. So during that automatic enrollment, there's a 60-day public outreach. Sorry, before that, there's a 60-day public outreach that will explain the program, explain your options, explain how to opt out. There's going to be probably Zoom meetings that we would hold now in this new world. We also, if doable, we can certainly go in and present as we've been doing. There's going to be postcards that are going to be sent out to all the residents within the jurisdiction, within the village or town. There's going to be, besides mailers, there's going to be printed material in local newspapers. We've used an array of things, obviously forms and informational material at the village hall, town hall area. And we're going to have an 800 number and a call center. So if anybody has any questions, they can call and find out about the program. And so everybody's going to receive an opt-out letter 30 days before the initiation of the program. And in those 30 days, everyone has an option to remove themselves and opt out from the program. Now, in those 30 days, if somebody does not opt out, they still have the option to leave the program at any time, no penalties, no fees, no early termination, cancellation fees, or any of that. They're free to come in and out of the program whenever they want. So one of the key features is this program becomes like a second default rate for your residents. So if they're on with National Grid, right, now they're still on with National Grid, but now they have the municipal option, which is a fixed price product, right, that they can compare to with the utility. So really the key to this program is economies of scale, but also optionality. You have another product that you're offering residents that they normally would not have. As I spoke before, it's the same utility. You don't have to worry about that. Same utility service. Just want to stress that continues to be there. And then here's one slide. I'm not going to, I have several slides for this, but I'm just going to give you one slide on some of the material that we send out, some postcards that we send out in New York, explaining people of informational meetings, specific details of the program. And again, this is apart from Community Solar. This is all through the Community Choice Aggregation program. Okay, does anybody have any questions? Is everybody hearing me okay?
Good.
Hearing you.
Okay, great. Okay, so this
And you
slide.
handle, Javier,
Yes, sir.
oh, I was just gonna say, and so your company would handle all the public outreach as far as helping the communities with that?
Yeah, so yeah, thanks for bringing that up. So we handle all the public outreach, all the marketing, and we pay for all that as well. So nothing is coming out of the pockets of the village or the town, so you never have to worry about that. We handle all that. And so we've done this in every single program that we've launched. We've paid for all the marketing on that. So you never have to worry about it. So this specific slide is about the municipal process. It talks about how to actually initiate a community choice aggregation program. And I'm going to go into it just here briefly, and then anybody who has any additional questions can grab me offline. It is a lot of information. I can talk probably about 30 minutes on this particular slide, but I'm just going to give you a real overview because most of the stuff I think you guys know from a municipal process standpoint. But you know, going from from left to right, you have at the top the PSC filing process. You know, in other states, you have a situation where every single city and village has to put together their own plan, their own implementation plan, their own plan of operation and governance. New York made it really easy where basically you just are utilizing our generic implementation plan that has already been approved by the Public Service Commission. So by selecting Good Energy, you fall under our plan, so you're under our umbrella. And so the approval process is very simple and it's very quick. So we streamline that and fast track that. And then all you have to do in the second arrow there, the submittal process, is come up with a resolution, which is pretty standard, sign our CCA professional services agreement. You have to hold a local law and a public hearing, hold a public hearing and pass a local law. And then you have to do an outreach. Now the outreach plan has already been put together. That's also a generic plan. So you would fall under our outreach plans and we would just create an individual one for you. And we would submit it to the Public Service Commission. All submittals to the Public Service Commission are done through the CCA administrator. That's Good Energy. So you guys don't have to do that at all. We take on everything, soup to nuts as far as administrative work. When it comes to that, the only administrative work you guys have is to do your own municipal process, a resolution. You're going to have some legal fees potentially to review our documents, to review the local law. But in many cases, it's rather simple, and it's a couple questions from the attorneys. It's not a big deal. So I've never had any real issues. And from a Good Energy standpoint, we are an extremely flexible company. Our agreements are 30-day notice to terminate. So we pride ourselves in giving a high level of service so that you want to keep us. And so we really offer a lot of flexibility when it comes to our agreements. So we're proud of that fact. Um,
Well, Javier, on the administrative side, there's no, like, if somebody calls our office with questions or complaints or anything, our clerks just give them your 800 number and they call directly to your staff for answers, and there's no additional work for our staff other than providing them the 800 number if they call the office.
There is no additional work except if they, reach you. And most small villages or towns, obviously, Scott, I'm sure you give your phone to certain people and they get you no matter what, right? So I can't
Yep.
stop that, obviously. But
No.
what we do put in place is a viaduct to our our call center, and
Yep.
even my personal number, if anything. So if I'm happy to do that. I get calls all the time from residents with questions. So yes, I would recommend that nobody at the village or towns try to answer a question. In many cases, they feel they're dangerous enough to do that, but it's not worth it. And sometimes it could lead into other questions that they may not answer. So we feel that it's more important for the resident and customer experience to let those calls be fielded by the Good Energy staff, right?
Yeah.
So that the customer feels better, that your residents don't have an issue. And we also want to insulate any issues or problems that you might misunderstand, because they'll come back and say, well, I didn't get the answers correctly, or, so that's always the backlash. And we try to minimize that and mitigate that as much as we can. So it's really important for us to do that for you. But that's a very smart question, and yeah, for sure I was going to talk about them. I'm glad you brought it up. So the program data assessment, which is the third arrow, we do all that. We're going to request data and pay for that data. There is a cost to that. It's about 80 cents per account. We handle all that through our suppliers and ourselves, so we pay for that as well. We have a utility data security agreement in place with all the utilities in New York State. We also have data protection insurance and cyber insurance that protects the data as well. So we have that a $10 million policy that we have in place. I don't know if any other CCA administrators have that, but we at Good Energy feel it important that we have it. We're then going to, once we get that data, we're going to conduct a supplier or ESCO, which is what they're called in New York, an ESCO RFP. That's an ESCO is an energy services company that serves your natural gas and electricity load. And then together with the municipality or the aggregated municipal community, we will select an ESCO. And what I mean by community is the selected aggregations of towns and villages and the officials that are part of that. We select an ESCO, and then in the fourth arrow, we have a 2-month outreach, which is the 60-day outreach. We then migrate all the eligible energy accounts, and we take care of the enrollment. We bring in all the opt-outs, we remove them, and then we provide hopefully savings for the community down the road. So that's our goal. One important thing about the program is that there's a couple of account classes, meaning customer types, that are not eligible for CCA. Number one, anybody who's already on with a supplier in New York will be automatically sifted out, because there's terms and conditions that they have in place with that supplier. So there's already a contract in place. And also low income accounts. Low income accounts need to be served on a guaranteed savings basis. And ESCOs, or suppliers in the market, have to have a special waiver with the Public Service Commission. So they have to have a special designation to serve low income customers. I believe there's only one ESCO in New York State that has that low income designation, and they unfortunately are not in this community choice aggregation space. Doesn't mean that we can't serve them. Doesn't mean that we don't have a plan. There is a plan that Good Energy is trying to focus on to help low income individuals participate in CCA. And it has a lot to do with some of our community solar development that we're doing. So I'm just gonna pause for a second, because I'm gonna go into community solar. But I would love, just because we're on the topic of community choice aggregation, I would like to take some Q&A before I go into community solar. And you can ask me about community solar, as it pertains even now, so it's not a problem. I can always address it. But I think since I've been talking for quite a bit, I just want to respect your time and maybe just focus on CCA for now. And if there's any questions, because I know I did mention a lot of information with regard to the process. Does anybody have any questions with regard to this?
I heard this, Mickey. I had just a quick question. So I know you're going to dive into community solar next and stuff, but like say, the residents get opted into this program, and if there were already residents that might have signed up for a community solar program already, for instance, does it affect that community solar program that they already signed up for, or would this just go hand in hand with that?
Hand in hand. It's a complement to in other states like Illinois, it actually cannibalizes the program and it would forfeit their CCA program. So in New York, it goes hand in hand, as you said. So yeah, so no worries there. The community solar folks can jump on this program as well. Any other questions?
Not really a question, Javier. I just want to add, me asking Mickey to bring you aboard is West Carthage is ready to move forward. We've had some presentations. We went through the data. We actually had a public hearing, but it was more than 6 months ago. So we got to reschedule another public hearing to select Good Energy and move forward with allowing them to begin to compile our data. The outreach to the other communities is, as you said, it's an economy of scale. So if there's 8 or 9 of us that want to do it compared to just the village of West Carthage, it would be a greater savings for everybody involved. So that's kind of why we wanted to reach out to everybody and bring RACOG on board and see if the other communities are interested. And even you mentioned in Governor, if that's something that we can join together with them and then have them join our group or us join them and reach out for the RFP to create a better savings for everybody. As he said, they're doing it around New York State. I know the Syracuse area, like Manoa and East Syracuse and those areas formed one a few years ago, and they're generating an 8 to 10% savings, at least the last time I talked to their mayor, for their residents. So it is being done locally close to us, and I think it would be good for us as well.
Yeah, I think both the town and the village of Governor are doing it. And I know that one is a little bit quicker than the other. And so it would fit perfectly right now with them because you're kind of in the same timeline. So that would work.
And this is Mickey. What I will do too is I'm recording the presentation stuff. I can send that on to like the village of Lowville too. And also the other communities that may not be on today, just so they can see what the presentation is about and hear everything we're hearing.
Because I think, Javier, what we talked about before is if you have one community in the area, you can pick up their numbers and then you can generate an estimated savings for the other communities that may be a step behind just based on their housing and their population, right? Yeah.
At least we have a good, like a litmus test to see where we stand. Obviously in National Grid, it's a tough market on the rate side. But, we could also, I know that you have a decent amount of natural gas there, correct?
Yeah. Yep.
So we can do both. We can analyze both, and there might be an opportunity for both. And once the numbers come in, I'm not going to put you in a program that's at a disadvantage, right? So once the numbers come in, then, they're plain as pudding, and we could all decide. So it's pretty simple. But the most important thing is that you have this local law on the books, and God forbid anything happens down the road in the future, you've empowered yourselves as community leaders to have an option in the event that markets go through the roof or there's an anomaly, or you have a the thing about it that's really key is that we've seen it in the last 8 months. We've seen so much uncertainty, right, with the pandemic. So I think that as one of my concerns in the energy markets, just being in the energy markets for 20 years and seeing these economic numbers is what is the pace of recovery, right? Where are we going with recovery? Is recovery good? There's going to be a recovery, no doubt. So when that demand pulls, you're going to see utility prices, energy prices go back up again. They're extremely depressed right now. We saw about 5 months ago, crude oil going into the negative realm, right? Everybody saw that, right? Our price at the pump, I haven't seen a price under $1 since I was like a little boy, you know what I mean, in the 70s. I mean, it was just, it's crazy, right? So I mean, it's a very interesting time. There's new factors that are involved, but just looking at some of the data on the energy side and the pull on demand is really the speed of recovery is what I'm hoping for. I want it. It'd be wonderful, but that's going to have an effect, right? So we're going to see, and as energy prices come up, you're going to have lower prices, and then you strike right at the right time, and so at least you have that mechanism in place at the municipality level so that you can take action and move forward. Any other questions on this?
Does it matter? You're talking about governor and you talk about our communities. Our communities compared to governor are, I don't know how many miles away. Does the two communities working together have to be like connected, villages next to villages, towns next to villages, or towns next to towns?
No, I think you're all in the same zonal market, so they don't need to be contiguously, right on each other. I think as long as you're in the same zonal market, you're okay. You could be separate counties and all that.
So when it comes to natural gas, governor would not be on the same natural gas that we are on. Does that make a difference?
It depends on what pipeline you're taking. It may make a difference. It'd be a small difference because you're kind of in that same region. So the answer is it may make a small difference. But I think it's probably going to be the same from the pipeline standpoint. And from an electricity standpoint, I think it's going to be exactly the same because you're in the same zonal market in National Grid. Does that answer you?
I think it has. I think it has.
Okay. All right. Okay, and if anybody has any other questions, I mean, I'll have another quick Q&A at the end, but feel free to have my number at the end of the presentations for you guys to call me individually, call me anytime you want. All right, community solar, what does it mean? So I'm gonna go to this slide, just might be a little bit easier. What is community solar? Everybody's using this. Some people use the word CDG, Community Distributed Generation. That's the program that community solar falls under. And what it is the installation of solar panels less than about 5 megawatts that go back into the grid, right? They're pushed into the grid. And then it gives the ability for a utility customer, whether it's home or small business, to actually subscribe to that specific solar farm that was just developed. And there's a market mechanism, which is called VEDR, the Value Stack of Distributed Energy Resources, and it's a mechanism that's managed by NYSERDA. And there's certain transition charges and formulas that allow a subscriber of that solar farm to get bill credits on their utility bill. Okay, so let me explain that one more time. I develop a solar field, a solar farm. That developer puts those electrons into the grid. It could be close to you, it could be far away from you. It just has to be in the same utility zone, right? So if I develop a solar farm in National Grid, and your village, your residents are in National Grid, then you could subscribe to that farm. If I developed a solar farm in Central Hudson or NYSEG, right? I could not subscribe to that specific solar farm. It has to be within the same zone, okay? And it's that simple. It's that simple. All I'm doing is signing up with a community solar provider. Good Energy facilitates that. And then you get your savings. Now, so with that fact, there's no rooftop installation at your home. Very convenient, simple sign up. There's no credit check. I know certain community solar providers have a credit check and FICO scores and all that. Our program doesn't have any of that. Zero money to invest from a residential small business standpoint. No upfront cost or financing. Obviously, I talked about it before, it promotes local economic development, because if your village, you know, if you have a brownfield, or you have you know, some land that is doing nothing, and you want potentially some development, and it's close to the transmission lines, and it makes sense from a solar perspective, Good Energy can actually bring in developers and engineers to really assess that. So that's something that we would love to do with your municipalities and uncover potential community solar development in your town and in your village. Bottom line, it lowers your overall electricity bill. So the solar credits are 10% off your bill if you sign up. And obviously it has a positive impact to the environment, you know, and it really eases the constraints that we have in New York with the transmission lines and generation. We have issues, you know. New York State is, you know, we have transmission lines that are 100 years old. So there's never any investment to build new transmission lines, right? There's just constant repair. And a lot of components that are in a bill, like ancillary services and you know, these additional components are put in there so that they can serve to better the transmission lines. Well, this is a way to really offset some of that. You know, nobody can put large generation just anywhere. So this really is a good offset to that. So what we can do, now I'm going to talk a little bit about how it affects CCA and how we do it and how we've done it in the past. In most cases, we like to stagger this program with a CCA. So let's say I promote a CCA, I launch a CCA, and because CCA has a 60-day outreach and there's so much information, we never like to confuse residents too much with getting too much information. So we launch the CCA program. Then a couple of months later, 2 or 3, we launch a community solar program. And then we go and send marketing material and outreach so that it promotes the community solar farms that are in the area. And that's how it would work. The promotion's at no cost to the municipality. The outreach is all done by us. And the way it works from a bill perspective is that, for example, on the utility bill, you would get a credit, $100 credit, right, from the utility itself, right, because you're subscribed to this solar program. Then you would get, the way it's currently done is that you would get a second bill of $90, right? And therefore that's your 10% discount. It's pretty simple. So you get $100 credit from the utility. It's on your utility bill. And then you get another bill from the community solar provider with a 10% discount, right? So, or, you know, with a, not a 10% discount, but a $90 bill, right? And that's your 10%. And that's the function, the simple function and the way it works. This is all going to change in 2021. In January 2021, the Public Service Commission has mandated that, like community choice aggregation, this program is now going to be opt-out. So we can actually switch entire communities on to community solar and give them the 10% discount. However, there's just not a lot of capacity. So it has to make sense. The numbers have to make sense. They have to be small communities at the moment, just because there's not enough capacity. But down the road, it could be something that can be promised. So you can maybe have a portion of your community switched, A select few, depending on how it works, maybe low income. So we're trying to work out the kinks of that process in the event that there's not enough capacity, and we want to run an opt-out community solar program. Just being honest on, how much capacity there is in the market, because I know a lot of folks are saying there's tons of capacity here, tons of capacity there, and really it's tough. I mean, I know all the solar projects that are in New York State, and they could not serve the entire load of several counties or several communities. So it's really tough. So I just wanted to address, I know somebody had a question on opt-out. I want to address that opt-out is here. We're ready to do it. However, there is a capacity constraint. There's not enough capacity, solar capacity, to serve in this opt-out fashion. There's going to be a few pilots. We're running a pilot program in National Grid here shortly. There's going to be a pilot program in Central Hudson that we're going to be running, but these are looking more like pilots, and the economics have to make sense and the structure has to make sense. It's not like we could just do it for everybody. So I just want to be honest with regard to the community solar program looking like an opt-out program like Community Choice Aggregation. Okay, so that's that for community solar. I'm just going to open it up to Q&As for anything CCA or community solar.
Javier, this is Bruce Ferguson from Town Champion. On the community solar, we have a couple solar farms coming into the town in the near future. A couple 1 megawatts by one firm, and a couple other from another solar firm for that would be less than 5 megawatts each. When you say you have to select one, do you have to? Would the town have to select one solar company over the other, or could you use both of them?
You could use both of them. The residential customer could not use two, right, to offset the program, right? So they would have to be subscribed to a specific one. So the way it would work is you would sign up with both, and then when one runs out of capacity, you basically start using the other one. And usually they stagger, they're not at the same, they don't come online at the same time. So you'll be able to do that. So it's up to the community solar developer, it's up to us to really figure out who to put, which customer to, and it's more like a first in, first serve kind of situation. So as soon as that customer comes in, we subscribe that solar farm. And then once that's used up, for example, that you said there's a little less than 5 megawatts, and then there's one that's 1 megawatt, correct?
Right. There's two that are like 4.6 megawatts, and then there's 2 of them that are 0.8 megawatts.
Yeah.
So combined, they're close to 10 megawatts. But.
Yeah. So the demand is there. So they would all be subscribed quickly. It wouldn't be like we're waiting so long that we can't subscribe it. The demand is such where everybody's trying to sign up for 10% savings. So it would be eaten up pretty quickly, in other words. So it wouldn't be too much coordination. It'd be like, all right, we subscribed it. It's almost done. We'll put it on this one. We'll put it on that one. And we just keep subscribing those that need it. So once the capacity is, and there's other reasons, there could be a process issue, timing issue. So that could delay things, but no, we would, to answer your question simply, would use both solar farms, or the 4. I think you said 4 or something like that, 3 or 4.
Well, there's two firms, 2 developers, and then they split the size of the arrays so they stay within the guidelines of National Grid's system as far as where they're hooking up in the distribution
right
side of it.
Exactly. So, and then they would have to be registered along with the CDG program. So they would have to submit and have an application for all their solar arrays to be utilized with CDG. So just keep that in mind. I mean, they could just be wanting the market price on the grid, but in most cases, people are participating in the CDG program. So I'm not concerned.
So what would Good Energy's I guess, how would you handle something like if the town or the village wanted to participate?
We had about 50 megawatts of solar capacity in National Grid. About 30 of that has been taken. So we've got about 20 megawatts left. So just because I don't know anything about those particular solar farms, but speaking from Good Energy, we would just utilize the ones that we know so that we can facilitate the process for signups and subscribers. So we wouldn't necessarily use them, but we can approach it. If we don't know the developer, then we could approach them to see if they would work with us so that we could subscribe that, which would be good for you, obviously. So we could work either way. We could either work with a new developer, a developer we don't know, or existing development that we have.
Okay. I'll catch up with you later, Javier.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, we could definitely make it work. It's completely solvable.
Okay, thank you.
Javier, this is Mickey. I had a question for you. So it sounds like I get approached, I get these messages or people calling saying, oh, sign up for our community solar program and stuff. It sounds like going through you guys and stuff with the communities doing it through you, that it kind of would help residents in a way as far as figuring out how to get signed up or who to sign up with. You kind of would take care of all that really for them. Is that
Correct?
accurate?
Yes, we do. As far as community solar goes, we take on all that as well as CCA, but community solar, all the outreach, all that is done through us. And we have partners in place that actually go out, do the outbounds. We definitely do a co-branded letter with the municipality. We wanted to be sent out with the municipal stamp, a seal there, so that people know it's a legitimate program, which is, I think we feel it's important. But we also do mailers, reaching out to people. But then that mailer would have your village seal or whatever it is, your logo. And I think that's really important. And so and also we're vetting the community solar program, we're vetting the supplier, we're vetting the process. So it's a really, really sound process. Like, just so you know, like when you're going to work with us, just like CCA and community, that whole process has been taken care of. Like when you start hearing, if you're partnering with somebody and they're trying to figure out what that process is, that's a problem. We have it soup to nuts. We're turnkey. So we know exactly how to do it. We have our forms, we have our questionnaires ready for you guys. We're not skipping a beat. We're not wasting time. We're ready to go, and we're asking the right questions from the onset. So you guys aren't trying to figure something out. We've already got this process in line. The only thing that I would have to communicate with you on the community solar side is the lack of capacity that might be in the market. That's ever changing. On the CCA side, there's plenty of electricity, plenty of natural gas. That's not an issue, right? We're flowing that all the time. But there's a constraint on capacity for community solar. So that's the only thing that I would have to communicate. Other than that, the process is pretty seamless when it comes to doing that. So